This is Truth and Other Lies, Splitting the Spectrum. American society has an uncanny history of bifurcating support for issues, assuming a position on one side or the other, and overlooking nuance and shades of gray. This propensity for polarization has led to the American body politic being divided into the unimaginatively named factions of left and right. How did we get here, and is it working for us? Join the Jacobins to learn how Americans are splitting the spectrum. I am Mark Jacobin along with my brother James, and this is Truth and Other Lies. The political spectrum is a continuum of value systems arrayed on a line and associated with the political machinery that impresses those value systems upon societies. The modern spectrum places the rights and needs of the collective on the left and the rights and needs of the individual at the right end. This may differ from other definitions you have heard, but most of the usage of left and right is pejorative, and people have a habit of assigning them to anything that conflicts with their worldview or reinforces their notions of who the bad people are. In other countries, the spectrum is manifested by a variety of political parties, each vying for their voice to be heard in Parliament, and when necessary, forming coalitions with other parties to achieve a compromise of goals. The American system of politics is rather less conciliatory and at times perfectly draconian. James, why do you think Americans have embraced a polarized society?
Well, that's a fascinating question, isn't it? I think there's numerous ways to answer that. The first one would be I don't think the American public realizes they've embraced it. But as a citizen observer of all of this, I would say it goes in cycles. With each presidential election, you see more and more people talking about politics and the issues, and between the political media campaigns of the two parties, social media campaigns, who knows, Russian interference, people get very, very hot-blooded about it. And then they vote for their candidate, and then they go home. Notice how right now the political pitch is very low. I think it's become a sporting event, where in the lead up to the big boxing match or the big football game, you get everybody really interested wearing their team jersey and more or less spewing their dissatisfaction. Oh, I cannot stand Tom Brady, or I love Tom Brady. But then the game comes and goes, and everyone goes back to their normal life, and it's a sporting life. But I think politics has become that sporting life. I don't think people realize they're as polarized as they are. And I don't think they care as much as they think they do come election time.
Well, I think I would agree with that, because when you talk to people, what comes out of their mouths more often than not is simply regurgitation of something they heard on the radio or the internet. And when you press them for details or for more context for what they've said to you, they simply don't have it.
Yeah, and there's a lot more. Like it's the sports fan analogy I like, because my favorite football team, Mark, I'm just regurgitating what the coach says. Like, I don't know the difference between a 3-4 defense and a 4-3 defense. I'm just rooting for my team. So that is bled over into the political parties. Not to say these people aren't well informed or educated, but there's a lot of very over complex issues that the political parties try and get you upset about with undersimplified answers.
You're right. A lot of these issues can't be explained in a soundbite, and yet they are. And those sound bites are presented in such a way to get people irritated or agitated about the issues and try to think of someone to blame, but it doesn't really provoke a debate about the issue.
No, it does not. So let's use two candidates who are no longer in office or running, former Secretary Clinton and former President Trump. Hey, give me 3 things you like about President Trump. Most people that support President Trump can get you 1, possibly 2, but they're reaching for the 3rd. Hillary Clinton, give me 3 things you like about Hillary Clinton. Same deal, because they just don't have the time and they're not being fed the information to go into details about these things. They don't like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, but they can't necessarily tell you why.
Let's take a break and come back with Splitting the Spectrum. Jacobinbrothers.com. If you enjoyed this preview of Truth and Other Lies, visit Jacobinbrothers.com to gain access to the entire episode and the Jacobin catalog. Jacobinbrothers.com.